the legislature, they were experiencing ongoing, basically harassment every Sunday, week in, week out for months on end, in sort of the vile behaviors that were going on outside of the cathedral. As kids were walking into mass, elderly people were coming into mass. That occurred there as well. So that was a story he was going to share, but couldn't. Stated by one bishop, these are not mere property crimes. This is a degradation of visible representations of our Catholic faith, and these are acts of hate. Unfortunately, these attacks are not reserved to Catholics, but extend to other religious communities, including Jewish, Muslim, and Sikh communities, in addition to any number of non-religious secular groups and organizations. As Senator Merman noted in a statement responding to the UNO Newman Center death threat, Nebraskans deserve to be free from the threat of politically motivated terror. So we appreciate what Senator Brewer has done here with LB 887, and we would encourage you all to advance this to general file. And thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for fast testimony, right on target.
Yeah.
Are there any questions for Mr. Venzer? See none.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Very much. Are there any other proponents? Good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Senators of the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee for the opportunity to provide testimony. My name is Abby Swatsworth, ABBISWATSWORTH. I'm the Executive Director of Out Nebraska, a statewide nonpartisan nonprofit working to celebrate and empower LGBTQ+ Nebraskans. Out Nebraska speaks today in support of LB 887. Thank you, Senator Brewer, for your thoughtful pursuit of this vital legislation that can make our Nebraska communities safer. As a leader in the LGBTQ+ community, we have been directly impacted by violence toward our programs and activities. Further, we've witnessed threats at other LGBTQ+ activities in communities across the state. The Nebraska Nonprofit Security Grant Program would allow our organization and other nonprofit organizations facing violence to request assistance in addressing our security needs and make all of our communities safer. Despite Nebraska's reputation as a friendly state, there are people determined to pursue violence in an effort to derail programs that serve youth, families, and adults within the LGBTQ+ community. In 2023, several credible bomb threats were directed toward our community events and event organizers. These threats resulted in thousands of dollars of security upgrades for the organization hosting the activity, including the purchase and installation of cameras, bullet-resistant glass, software to protect staff identities, and more. During 2023, Out Nebraska also took steps to protect our staff by relocating to a locked office space in response to previous threats. This budgetary consideration impacts our ability to expand programs, and we would much rather dedicate our budget to community activities versus office overhead. While we do not know what the future holds in regards to security issues, I do not doubt that we will continue to face credible threats to our safety because of the work that we do. I can say that if this legislation had existed earlier, we could have benefited from security training following a particularly scary situation directed at me as the organizational leader as we advocated for Nebraska's young people. For these and other reasons, and in partnership with numerous religious and cultural organizations, we respectfully encourage the committee to advance this vital bill. Thank you.
That right on time. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Abby Swatsworth?
Thank you.
See none. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Are there any other proponent? Yes. Welcome.
Howdy, y'all. Hello, Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee members. My name is Angel Dominguez Farias, ANDREW DOMINGUEZ FARIAS, and I am the Policy Fellow with the Asian Community and Cultural Center here in Lincoln. and today we are testifying in support of LB 887. The Asian Center is a nonprofit organization that supports and empowers all refugees and immigrants through programs and services. At the same time, we strive to advance the sharing of Asian culture and every cultural heritage of our clients with the community at large. For our Asian American clients, community members, and staff, they have anecdotally reported encountering anti-Asian sentiments, especially following the COVID-19 pandemic. They have experienced troubling comments out and about at grocery stores and at schools, including being spit on and called racial slurs. One of the most recent prominent harms that happened to the Asian American community in the United States was the 2021 Atlanta spa shootings, which killed 8 people. Some have worried that these sentiments will follow them to the Asian Center, where we currently lack the infrastructure for safety planning, equipment, and training. LB 887 would alleviate many concerns of our staff and community members by providing funding and safety for security projects to nonprofit organizations like ours who are at high risk of hate crimes or attacks because of our missions or beliefs. We also want to emphasize the importance of other cultural organizations across the state of Nebraska having access to these funds too. Our organization sees tremendous opportunity in the ability of cultural centers, religious entities, and community centers to adequately ensure the safety of those who use their organization services. This state funding source will fill the gaps where federal funding might fall short. We want to ensure that all people feel welcome in Nebraska, and that often starts with safety and security of spaces where they are able to congregate and build community. Therefore, we urge the committee to advance LB 887 to general file. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Andrew Ferris? See none. Thank you very much for your testimony. Are there any other proponents? Are there any opponents? Anyone in the neutral? Welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Senator Sanders, members of government, Military and Veterans Affairs Committee. I am Keith Kollasch, Keith Kollasch, legal counsel for the Nebraska Emergency Management Agency, or NEMA. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this hearing regarding LB 887 in a neutral capacity. The Nebraska Nonprofit Security Grant Program would allow qualified Nebraska nonprofits that were unable to receive a grant from the federal program the ability to address their security concerns through the Nebraska Grant Program. NEMA takes seriously security threats to the citizens of Nebraska. Since there is no state program like the current federal grant program, NEMA will have to create the rules and regulations required to manage the new grant program. In addition, an additional position within NEMA would also be created to administer this program. The fiscal note recognizes this and the nearly 20% impact it would have on the available grant funds. There are a few questions NEMA would like to draw your attention to, which may require additional guidance from the legislature. Section 2, 5B, regarding what qualifies as a nonprofit organization states, at high risk of a terrorist attack or at risk for hate crimes or attacks because of the nonprofit organization's ideology, beliefs, or missions. That appears to be a subjective standard, even with a threat or vulnerability assessment included by the nonprofit. Outside of verified threats, I'm not sure how NEMA can make that determination. Section 2, 5C states that nonprofits that have been unable to apply for a federal nonprofit security grant due to inability to fund the request up front and wait for reimbursement. Although not specifically stated in the operative section of the bill, this appears to indicate that the qualified nonprofits would be able to receive funds from the grant program up front rather than through the typical system of reimbursement. No federal grant administered by NEMA works on an advanced payment system. Even in the federal reimbursement-based programs, getting all the supporting invoices and receipts is difficult. In an advanced payment program, validating such expenditures will be much more difficult, resulting in problems for NEMA during audits. Another concern is determining who would make the ultimate decision regarding what nonprofits are picked for the grants when there is not enough funding for all qualified nonprofits. I can expand this issue further if through questions of committee if you'd like a more in-depth explanation. The point of addressing these concerns is not that NEMA does not support LB 887, but that NEMA wants to ensure that the legislation that comes out of the committee is not arbitrary nor capricious. As we have seen before at several levels of government, If an agency is not given specific enough guidelines when creating rules and regulations required by a statute, the legislative intent may not be fully realized. And a good idea such as LB 887 is not managed as the legislature envisioned. NEMA believes that the Nebraska Nonprofit Security Grant Program is important legislation which helps ensure the safety of vulnerable nonprofits and by extension, the citizens of Nebraska. That concludes my testimony. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony. If you'd like to expand on those ideas to make this a better bill, please do so.
Right. One of the issues is just making the determination and the ranking on who gets the money. Obviously, there, just with the amount of people that actually are not granted the federal grant money, that the people that are left over from that, if they all apply for the $500,000, well, actually, with fiscal note, it'd be actually about $410,000 that is available for grants. We'd be in a position where there wouldn't be enough money, so there's going to be some people that are going to be left out. The way FEMA does it with the federal system is they give us a set of, I guess, grading criteria that they go by. We have employees with NEMA that will rank the different applicants, return that to FEMA, and ultimately they're the ones that make the decision. From what I understand, sometimes they use our rankings, sometimes they don't. It's completely arbitrary when it gets to their level and how it actually gets decided. Our concern is we make the rankings, we make the decisions. There's no, I guess, stopgap in between there as far as it's all the same people making the same decision on who gets it. And then, of course, the ones that don't get it, they'll be calling us, why didn't we get it? And then the next call will be to the state senators, why didn't we get it? So we just want to have some guidance to be able to know how to rank them. We don't want to make it arbitrary. Again, a lot of, even on the federal side of it, it's a very subjective standards that they use. Their criteria is very subjective. When we'll have several people score them, and they all come up with different scores. So it is a pretty subjective standard on it. So we just want to make sure we have the correct guidance.
Thank you. Are there any, did he spell his name? Okay. Are there any questions? Senator Lowe.
Thank you, and thanks for testifying today. How many office staff does NEMA have?
Total, well, we have several empty positions that we're trying to get filled, but I believe we're mid-50s, if I recall correctly.
And so you would need one more to make this happen.
Yes, all the NEMA positions are funded through federal grants. So since this would be a state program, we can't use somebody that is being funded by the federal government to, through a federal grant to administer this program. It'd have to be someone through the state.
Are there any other questions? See none? Thank you very much for your
All right.
testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others in the neutral? See none, we'll go to close. Senator Brewer. Position statement, summary statement, report. Proponents 3, opponents 1, and 0 neutral.
All right, well, I want to start by thanking everybody that came in, especially the ones that have endured the entire day. All the other stuff you did not come here for, but you stuck it out and you came to testify, and I appreciate that you did that. You can tell by the testimony, this is an area where we really need to fill the void, because if there's a threat and we're not doing anything to try and help, then shame on us. As far as the issues that NEMA brought up, we had a chance to talk just briefly. I think we can probably take a look at a criteria as far as the needs, whether it be the threat or the size of congregation or the size of group, as far as a nonprofit, and the amount of activity they have and a level of threat, and maybe come up with a formula where we can take those that have the most risk and make sure they're covered first, and then see how far the money goes. So I think we got a solution to that. It'll mean an amendment, but I'll get with Dick Clark and we'll figure out how to do that so that we have that covered. But again, I think if you look at what it's trying to do. There is a need. We just need to figure out how to fill that need. Any questions?
Are there any questions?
All right.
Seeing none, thank you, Senator Brewer. This now closes the hearing on LB 887, and we will go into executive session